Hello, everybody. I'm here at Palantir's end-of-year December event, Paragon, and I'm here for a very, very special interview to talk about a very special partnership. I'm here with Justin, who leads commercial AI at Nvidia, and Kevin, who leads commercial sales at Palantir. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So I want to start off by saying this. I come from the retail investor community, and a lot of us for the past 4 years have been waiting for the moment that Nvidia and Palantir would work together. We knew that these are the two companies controlling AI. Dr. Karp constantly talks about chips and ontology, and a partnership usually that is special probably should take time to evolve, and I think what we're going to talk about today is pretty special. So I guess we'll get started with you, Justin. How did this partnership even come to fruition?
I think just looking at the work that the Palantir team have done through ontology, we realized it's foundational across virtually every enterprise. So it's one of the most important enterprise platforms on the market. And we thought there was a huge opportunity to work together to continue to accelerate the work that Palantir has done through our CUDA libraries and through Nemotron models and bring, I'll say specialized intelligence to the world's enterprises together.
Kevin, your take on how this partnership started?
I think for me, and it was over a year ago, Dr. Karp said that a lot of the value in AI was going to be about connecting ontology to the chips.
Yeah.
And I think we sort of came to learn that like connecting our ontology to your accelerated computing platform is a big game changer for our customers. And going through that process of actually implementing it, putting it into the field was worth trying. And we didn't have to try for that long. We started our partnership, I think maybe 3-4 weeks into it. We already had a customer up and running on Nvidia products with Nvidia models in ontology for Lowe's, for one of our customers.
Yep.
And it was a mutual customer, which helped move things quicker. But when our teams could work together and show value in what ended up, I think, being 3 weeks, that's a pretty good start to any kind of partnership.
Yeah, I think the synergies between Palantir and Nvidia are exciting because you guys both move really fast. The standard that Jensen and Karp hold the company to, if you just listen to some of the employees speak about the work culture and the mission behind the work culture is why people want to work so hard. It would make sense that in 3 to 4 weeks a customer is up and running and getting started. In terms of the technicalities of the partnership, you mentioned the ontology is integral towards the enterprise stack. When did that realization happen, and why do you think the ontology is being adopted by so many organizations, and philosophically, how do you think they will continue to adopt the ontology?
Yeah, I think when we started to engage in kind of these first customer engagements, we quickly realized the power of Palantir is really taking what were a bunch of, let's say, narrowly optimized systems across the supply chain and giving you a way to globally optimize across all the business systems and giving you kind of this unified data model that is the data that you want to ground artificial intelligence into to make business decisions. And so as soon as we started engaging Lowe's in this case, they had 1,700, I think, retail locations, 130 distribution centers, and over 7,000 suppliers that they're trying to optimize inventory across to make sure that shelves are full to drive revenue. And by bringing together the power of accelerated computing, we could basically do that supply chain reoptimization in real time when there's a new event, such as like a weather event in the supply chain, which lets you basically maintain stock shelves and grow the business. And so for every company, when you can basically provide this, let's say, operational decision intelligence that lets you run your company in a more profitable way and helps you grow your business, there's obviously very, very fast engagements to deliver value.
Kevin, the operationalization of LLMs, can you speak to that a little bit in terms of, obviously NVIDIA's hardware is necessary to train these LLMs, but it seems like Palantir's orchestration to get the business intelligence is crucial to making them useful in an enterprise.
Yeah, I think, we've thought a lot about how we take this technology and drive like serious business value. We had a customer on stage tonight that talked about how they've reduced 48-hour fatalities at a hospital by 68%.
Yeah.
And some of these, so the application of the technology really matters. So there's, we could create a tech stack, we could optimize it for maybe consumer use or general kind of like hobbyist kind of things, or we can drive this technology actually into the institution, and you can have real impact. There was a construction company on stage that said, that this is actually their operating system, right? So
they said they replaced 97% of all the other software stack.
Yeah, in 12 months.
Yeah.
In 12 months. And that's a really, really powerful thing. And there's some things that we're seeing in the market that I'm not sure they were even doable 6 months ago. So it's like, if I can help an insurance company, process an underwriting or a claim in a matter of essentially minutes, like that wasn't really even possible a few months ago.
Right.
If we could go into a hospital and help the person that's trying to schedule, nurses, doctors, like be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment, and therefore you can move patients through faster, that saves lives.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole operation of the institution. So I think I think we've all experienced large language models on our phones, in our pockets. But if we could take this technology into the institution and help these companies, these organizations, these governments operate better at the thing that is consistent with their mission. Right. That's what our company's all about, and we wake up every day thinking about that. I think we were fortunate to meet a company that also cared a lot about that and could move at pace and speed with us with amazing engineers. We've had, I'd say over the years, we've oftentimes tried to work with companies to say, hey, maybe you should have a forward deployed engineering team too. And that's oftentimes worked really well. It's like even just the concept of trying is sometimes like really, really good. It's like, hey, we should do engineering for the purpose of delivering a result. Well, we just barely talked about it at a conference a few weeks ago, and then within days there's a team of Nvidia forward deployed engineers working side by side with our people, and it's very hard to tell the difference between your team and ours, and that's really cool.
Yeah, one thing that I was speaking to one of the engineers who's central to the partnership is that both companies take on the burden of value creation, as Dr. Karp says. Like, you don't want to get paid until you actually prove that you can be valuable for a company. Nvidia is a hardware company, but at a high level, Justin, can you explain more about CUDA and the software integration with Palantir and why that makes sense for this partnership?
Yeah, I mean, I think, from our early days, people know us originally as a gaming company.
Yes.
And I think Jensen has talked about this for a long time. For us to create value in the market, we had to accelerate games to create a better visual interactive experience for gamers.
Right.
And then obviously people wanted our product to get that, best in class, like interactive experience. And the same thing is true here in terms of processing, data analytics, data processing, and artificial intelligence. The lower the latency, the more data that you can look at in your business, the better decisions that you can make, across operations of your business, from customer success to claims processing to supply chain to operations. And so that's why kind of this natural partnership. And as KK said, we are a software company. We started our early days with CUDA building libraries for every domain that we wanted to go into.
Right.
At this point, I think we have over 200 of these CUDA libraries to accelerate many different stages of these workflows. And so the exciting thing working with the Palantir team is every engagement starts with the customer need, like what's the big business problem they're trying to solve?
Right.
How do we help them get to business value faster? How do we reduce the compute cost to drive that business decision, and then ultimately help them take it to production?
Kevin, can you speak a little bit about compute at the edge and edge networking, and kind of how this partnership might play a role in that as well?
Yeah, I think that's going to be critical. Like I've thought a lot about, if you go back 15 years, like when the consumers had, iPhone applications in their pocket, and then maybe our operators downrange in a battlefield, had more of equivalent to a two-way radio.
Right.
And so it's like getting the technology, the best technology that anybody in the US can have on the phone, and using it for a mission purpose, out in the field is going to be really important. And so I think that does mean a lot of edge. I think it means like figuring out how to do a lot of this stuff on-prem, inside of customer data centers, on the AI factories, the SuperPODs, some of the products you have. So we're working through a lot of that, and I think we've already seen a lot of customer demand to really run our product with NVIDIA's product, and the various different models that they can get more or less inside their perimeter. and I think that's a consistent architecture with doing something on the edge, and I think that's I think that's actually going to be a really big trend to use this, because you want to control this technology and be, in some sense, guarantee that you have access to it.
Yeah. Because sometimes to the cloud, you're not guaranteed. I mean, sometimes it takes 20 seconds to get the data back, and that's life or death decisions.
Yeah, and if you're going to have problems like that, like you kind of want to be able to control it end to end.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe it's not going to be perfect, but like I actually want to own this. I want to be responsible for it end to end, and we want to help our customers do that. And I think that's really important. The you've asked a lot over the time that we've known each other about our boot camps and, our joint go-to-market.
I got to see an NVIDIA boot camp today.
Yeah, I want to throw this in because I think with about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks of planning, it wasn't that much. We had this event scheduled. We were talking. We said, hey, maybe we should do a boot camp with a customer. Yep. Day of our Paragon event, and we said, okay, let's try it, and I think we had 1 in mind. We ended up, I think, with 7 total. Yep. And 7's not a massive number, but the variety, I think, was really interesting. We had a bank, we had a few different sort of like electronic device manufacturers, we had a pharmaceutical company, we had a pharmaceutical manufacturer, pharmaceutical retail company. I'm probably not naming them all, but there was I don't know. It was really interesting, really fun.
But to your point, I think the power of ontology connected to accelerating computing crosses every industry. And so, to give another example, at the edge, the Teton Ranch is starting to use, let's say, vision analytics to watch the rodeo to help both the judges and the broadcasters tell a better story about rodeo, which is a really awesome use case that starts to cross into media and entertainment. And so we're really excited about that announcement here at the show. But this partnership is multifaceted across so many different industries. The other industry that we made an announcement about is this program we call Chain Reaction. Yep. And that's because I think both companies realize that we're at this moment where we want to build this digital intelligence to power the U.S. economy. It's great for the U.S. to lead in this way. The U.S. has such a huge demand for this artificial intelligence to power a range of new business applications, and so by working together, we can really start to build these gigawatt data centers and look at the entire supply chain, from power generation to distribution to construction to data center operations, to bring this infrastructure online faster and more efficiently by the two companies working together. So, this multifaceted partnership continues to grow really across every industry.
Yeah, and that was going to be my last question. Thank you again both for taking the time to do this. Chain Reaction, we all got to see that publicly announced today, and it blew me away, because it almost hit me like a brick. Like, obviously, the data center build-out is growing exponentially. Palantir has software that has been instrumental towards many different energy infrastructure companies. PG&E is one of the ones that comes to mind in terms of dealing with wildfires. Kevin, can you speak to the idea of this partnership continuing to expand, and why you think Palantir software should be a de facto AI infrastructure operating system for the data center build-out?
Yeah, I think the example that Cavanagh guy gave, the gentleman from Cavanagh Construction gave, now that's, construction's a really important aspect to this build out, but he wasn't talking about necessarily like, Foundry as his operating system, or, using AI to better his operating system. He was talking about the Cavanagh operating system. Right now, this is an operating system that is yours, and I think that's a really big piece, because while we could deliver a lot out of the box, and we could deliver a lot of software sort of like that is consistent with lots of different companies, that last bit, that last mile, the forward deployed engineer, the unique ontology build, like that is what makes our customers and any company special. And it's the difference between winning and losing in some cases. It's the difference between your project being on time or not on time, getting this infrastructure stood up. These data centers, every day that the construction project is late, you can measure in profits. Yeah. And so I think that like in some sense, like we want to build an operating system that is our customers. And you could do that with having a lot of technology that we have in our stack, but that last mile is that's sort of like that's your weapon. Right. And I think that's what we want to deliver to all of our customers.
Justin, Kevin, thank you for the time. This was absolutely awesome. And congrats on the partnership, and we hope to see it extend over the next decade. All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are here at Palantir's end of year 2025 event, Paragon. I'm here with a familiar guest. Haven't spoke to him since June of 2024.
No, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but we're back We both kind of grew out our beards a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bill Ward from Northslope. Bill, thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
There's thousands of AWS firms, GCP firms, Azure firms. There's not that many Palantir firms, and you're one of the first ones.
Well, I think one of the big reasons that that's true is that Palantir is not a consulting company.
Right.
And I mean, this was something that was very hard for a lot of people to understand back when I worked at Palantir.
Right.
And this conversation would come up all the time. And I think one of the very cool things that people are starting to understand about Palantir today is that the way that you build quality software is by forward deploying and building against specific missions and figuring out how you accelerate specific outcomes. And that's what Foundry is, right? It started as ways for us to go win faster, and it's become this customer product that you can go win on your own.
Right.
And one of the things that's very exciting for us is we also don't consider ourselves to be a consulting company. We're a software company that ships specific outcomes on the Palantir platform for our customers. And Palantir is an enterprise operating system. We build applications that are compounding the value of that platform so that people can get more work done.
It's almost like the FDE model that Palantir introduced. You guys are the manifestation of that in a new company.
We are very privileged to get to do this work, and I think it's hard to compare yourself to Palantir FDEs, but we're very honored to be doing this work alongside them. And I think there's a lot of hype around the FDE model right now.
Yes.
And one of the things that we feel very strongly, and I think those of us who worked at Palantir at the Northslope team feel very deeply, is you can't just slap a label on a thing.
Yes.
It has much more to do. I mean, all the stories that we've been hearing here tonight of going to ground with the actual operators in a business, trying to solve the specific problem with them, like we are on their team, like we own that outcome ourselves. Dr. Karp often talks about us owning the value creation risk, right, for our customers. That's very much how we operate too.
Yeah, the burden of value creation, I think, is one of the most interesting things about Palantir. It's something I personally have tried to apply in my life. How can I give more to, in my business, the audience than I take? And you have to accept the burden of value creation. So a year ago, you guys decided that there's companies across the world that should be implementing Palantir software, but they don't know how to. And you guys wanted to take the burden of actually showing how to do this. Since then, what has changed over the past year in terms of the rate of growth you're seeing in more companies that are at least interested to have a conversation around implementing Foundry in their corporation?
Yeah. I think there's two things that people are waking up to. The first is the true magic of Palantir being that you can solve specific problems, which you always get a better outcome for your business when you're solving a specific problem than you do when you try to solve it generically, right? Generic solutions lead to commoditization. You're doing the same workflow everybody else is doing. And all the businesses that are here, all the businesses that we work with, are trying to do something category redefining, right? They're trying to change how their business operates, how their industry operates. And you have to do that by doing something special and different. And the magic of Palantir is you actually get to go build the software to do that special and different thing, even if you're not a technology company like Palantir. I mean, at Palantir, we built a lot of our own internal software. At Northslope, we're doing the same thing. We're building it on AI FDE, which is sort of the tip of the spear of Palantir's product line. And we believe that that's the right way to build any kind of business, but that's traditionally been the preserve of an enterprise technology company. But now companies, I mean, there was one company tonight that's been around for 140 years. They look more like a technology company than many Silicon Valley startups because they are building their entire organization with specific solutions on Palantir. And that's the thing that I think is a big change from a few years ago, where people didn't quite understand how powerful that could be. And now there is this community here, and it's still a very small group, but there's a small group of people who are going to go lead the next century who are here who have figured that out.
Is the rise of AI prompting more inbound for you guys? Because just hooking up ChatGPT to an enterprise is not a way to actually implement AI.
Yeah, I mean, it very much is. And I mean, Palantir is creating this market, right, by offering this solution. But I think the biggest change that we've seen is people have tried the ChatGPT experiment. They have seen that doing a bunch of those in isolated silos doesn't really work. It's hard to one-shot a solution to a problem. But if you're operating on the Palantir platform, you actually can build a compounding application layer on top of the operating system, where every time you solve a new problem, it's actually making your previous solutions to the old problems better, faster, and the agents that you have running around your business operating alongside your people are actually getting smarter and more effective over time as well.
These agents that enterprises are starting to get more excited about, I mean, Tampa General and R1, seeing how something like denial prevention rates, the ability to have agentic workflows where the data is immediately consumed and then the increase of the time for payout is up 200%.
Yep.
When you're talking to these customers that want to start implementing agents, or at least the concept of agents, how important is the education of an ontology to these clients?
Well, I mean, one of the things that is exciting to us is so many folks are excited about what Palantir is able to provide to their business that they're kind of there for the ontology, right? Like this, it makes intuitive sense. If you think about it from first principles, if you're not just trying to procure a piece of software, but you're actually trying to change how your business functions, it's sort of obvious that you have all these different disparate data sets and you need to get them into like one set of nouns and verbs for your business.
Right.
And what's really, really exciting is folks also have started to understand that if you're going to have machines working alongside your people in the form of LLMs, they need a language that they can understand that humans can also understand. And,
Correct.
and I think the ontology is this incredibly powerful flywheel for that. And so for most of our customers, actually, they get it, right? And what we get to talk about with them is, what is your hardest problem? How do we get into the weeds of this? What data do you have? Let's go get going. Let's build you something, in the next week and ship it, and the next day and ship it. So I think there's a lot of that. The thing that is very cool to see, though, is oftentimes it's like one person or a couple of people in an organization who are really tip of the spear on those efforts and are leading the charge and evangelizing inside their own organizations. And what is really cool about the way that Palantir operates and that we try to operate as well is it's all show, don't tell. We just go solve the problem, demonstrate that we have, and then all of a sudden everyone else in the organization gets excited about it too. It's really, really cool to see.
So I think that leads into the next question of this concept of value creation.
Yeah.
You wouldn't classify yourself as a pure consulting firm, more of a software company.
Yeah.
How do you define the way you guys get paid? Is it for the education? Is it for the implementation of the software? Is it for the ideation?
Yeah. It is for building software. That's what we do. So, I mean, I think the core of being a forward deployed engineer at Palantir, at Northslope, or anywhere else, there are very few places, but anywhere else that does it in the way that we think about it, you have a problem and you have data.
Yes.
And then the job of the forward deployed engineer is to solve that problem with that data by shipping software.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And what's really cool about Palantir is they figured out a way to make that so incredibly powerfully fast and production scale, secure, and able to be federated out across a very complex organization.
Right.
And that's why it's a joy to build on this platform. But what we do every time we show up with a customer is we start with the data, and we start with the problem, and we are there writing code and shipping software. We're doing it all on Palantir. We can do it way faster than we could if we were not able to leverage the product leverage of the platform.
AI FDE, this is something a lot of people are curious about. It's I was talking to Unkid, who I think is the lead on this 8 months ago, and it was really cool. 5 months later, it's like in customers' hands.
Yep.
You guys now are saying, hey, we're going to take this and take it to the next level. How has that process been implementing it for customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the really exciting things working in the Palantir ecosystem is there is so much product development. There's so much that gets shipped. And what's fun for us is we get to be the tip of the spear of that.
Yeah.
The reason that's true is partly because we run our business on Palantir.
Right.
And so we are using the software every day for our own work and to make sure that we are running as like our own version of a category redefining company. We think the future of services is software.
Right.
And to do that, we have to build ourselves our own software internally. And AI FDE makes us so much faster at doing that. One of the cool things for customers, I think, is also figuring out how to be engineers in this new era. Palantir provides this incredible, really wide range of tools that allow you to do engineering work from a variety of different backgrounds. If you want to be completely code first, which many of the folks at Northslope are, we have so many tools that we can use in the Palantir platform that allow us to do that. AI FDE opens up a whole new frontier, both for those of us who write a lot of code and also for those who don't. And you can ship things so much faster.
So an example of AI FDE for a customer would be as someone who doesn't code, a natural language prompt that requires a lot of back-end coding that traditionally an FDE would code up. Now the AI is doing it.
I would imagine it as, you and I are working on a problem together, and I'm an FDE, and you're a customer trying to solve a problem. To a large degree, you still need a Northslope person or a Palantir person around the hoop, but there are a lot of problems, and we're really exciting future for AI FDE, where we can solve that problem together with the help of Foundry, acting as an agent on its own. And we're really excited about that future. And a lot of where we as Northslope are trying to build our software direction is on how do we harness the power of that and build specific workflows for customers really, really quickly and at very, very high scale. And so AI FDE is this incredible jumping off point to be able to get that moving.
Are the customers open to trying these brand new things, or are they a bit more hesitant?
Yeah, absolutely. And it varies from organization to organization, but I think that most folks who we work with, they're all in, right?
Yeah.
And that's a second thing that's really changed in the last year is folks are starting to understand that if you want to transform how your organization operates, you kind of have to do it full scale.
Yeah.
And you want to operate like an enterprise technology company. That means the whole company needs to operate on AI.
Yeah.
And AI FDE is this incredible mechanism for getting many, many of those products into production much, much faster.
What industries is Northslope not only targeting, but are you seeing kind of more broad-based success in?
Yeah, I mean, it's very Palantir. I mean, everybody has problems. Anyone who's trying to do something that is unique and specific in the world has a problem.
Yeah.
It's an unsolved problem by definition. It's something that generic software can't solve. And so we're very fortunate. We get to work with customers across a huge variety of industries, same as Palantir. Many of our customers are here tonight, which is really, really exciting. But I'd say that some of the things we're very proud of is we're helping healthcare institutions make sure that doctors are able to provide, one, much higher quality care for their patients by having more data around the quality they're providing, and spend a lot less time on the paperwork around that quality. We're also really proud that we're helping many different energy companies ship more energy onto the worldwide grid, especially clean energy, which has been very, very cool.
Which in the world of data centers is pretty important.
Exactly, especially in the era we're entering right now. We work with investment management firms, we work with aviation companies, we work with consumer services companies, veterinary hospitals, things like that.
How are these guys finding you?
Huge swath. Well, I mean, people come to us because they love working with Palantir and they want more, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the really exciting things for us is it isn't, I mean, there's so much work to do in this space. There's so much momentum in the Palantir ecosystem that folks are just trying to move even faster, and we're there to be that extra capacity. So if you don't have a fully dedicated internal team, or your team and the Palantir team you're working with are already tied up building use cases 1 through 10, but you want to do 20, that's usually when we get a call.
Do you think there will be, over the next decade, thousands of these Palantir derivative companies that are implementing it? Because that's what exists for AWS and Google.
Yeah. My honest answer, I'm biased, right? But my honest answer is I don't think so. I think there will be a small number of very good ones. And we very much aspire to be one of those very good ones. The reason I think that's true, though, is the same reason why a lot of Palantir customers are themselves so unique. Like, they are trying to build an N of one company. Like, that's why you work with Palantir. That's why we work with Palantir. We think that the traditional way of doing enterprise technology is wrong in most of corporate America and around the world. And a lot of the customers we work with think that in their industry, everyone else is getting it wrong. And they want to build a compounding advantage that no one else can catch up to. And I think that the secret sauce for us is forward deployed engineering on the Palantir platform means that we can be a software company. We can ship software as our output to our customers rather than having, as Dr. Karp describes it, like a parasitic relationship with them. And that's actually a very hard motion for a lot of traditional players to do.
Right.
It's also very hard for a lot of, single industry or single workflow SaaS software companies to do as well. And so I am very confident there are going to be others like us. We have a lot of friends who are working in this space who are sort of our friendly peers. There's so much work to do. But I do think it's a relatively small community. And the world is changing to a place where if you start now, especially if you're a customer who's here today, it's going to be really hard to catch you because you've got a 2, 3, 4 year head start on Palantir. I mean, it's really difficult to go 0 to 1 at the pace that you're going to be able to be accelerating away from everyone else.
Let me throw this last question at you, Bill, and thank you again for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
A lot of conversations right now about if AI is a bubble or if AI is hyped up, and you are implementing on the ground floor AI at these companies every single day for your customers. How are you thinking of the concept of efficiency, margins, productivity, saving costs? Like, is all this fake, or is there something real happening in enterprise software?
Yeah, there is something real happening, and also there's a lot of hype. And I think one of the things that's unique about the space that we get to occupy, all the folks who are in this room, is there's a sifting that's happening where folks are trying to figure out, how do I actually get the value out of this? And what's cool about Palantir is the AI is a mechanism, right? I think there's this metabolization of LLMs into the ontology as like a way to get work done, which is incredibly powerful. But it is the ontology itself that enables that.
Correct.
And so I think there's a lot of hype around AI is going to go take over the world. I actually think it will, but it requires doing it in like a production enterprise way.
Right.
And one of the things that I think a lot of there's these LLM wrapper companies and software companies going after a single vertical. I think one of the things that Palantir gets really right is it's still always about the specific problem that the company has that you're trying to solve. It's about the specific user who needs to be owning that outcome whether they are doing a workflow themselves or they're trusting an agent to do it.
Which creates a real use case.
Exactly. And it's really, really hard for anyone other than Palantir to go compete on that because the amount of complex technology it takes to enable that is 20 years in the making.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Bill
Cool.
Ward,
Awesome.
thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
If anyone sees this and wants to get some Palantir education from
Yeah.
you, how can they reach out?
Reach out to us at northslope.com or hello@northslope.com is our email address, and we would love to talk to you.
I love it. Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Bill
having
Ward.
me.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are here at Palantir's end-of-year event, Paragon, and I'm here with Sid and Jeffrey from Crisis 24. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So your partnership with Palantir actually happened about 3 years ago. I started making content around the company back in basically 2021, 2022 when the partnership was announced. And it was one of the more interesting partnerships that came out. During that time, no one really cared about Palantir. No one knew about Palantir. So every press release would be like immediately dissected. So I just want to give you the floor real quick. You can introduce yourself, what you do at Crisis 24, and what is Crisis 2024 or 24?
Sure. Well, thanks for having us, Amit. We really appreciate it. Crisis 24 is a company really premised on how do we allow the most distinguished organizations and individuals that operate, how do we allow them to do what they do anywhere in the world with confidence without having to worry about things that in today's increasingly uncertain world they may have to.
Right.
Their physical security, their health security, their cyber security, all those sorts of things. As Crisis 24, we bring solutions for to allow our clients to do what they do best, which is their business or their family. And that's where I think it's been really interesting to see where the company has been and where it's going, because we really look at ourselves as being instrumental to that fabric of where companies and individuals are going these days.
Right. Jeffrey?
Great. Yeah. So my role is I lead Aya, which is the part of Crisis 24 that is actually a partnership with Palantir.
Right.
And so Aya is really focused on how do we use AI and AI tools to bring enterprise solutions to the market. Our first product, the Presidential Brief, modeled after the intelligence report that the President of the United States gets every day, looks at and takes all of the data points of all the geopolitical and geoeconomical issues that exist around the world and look to do a prioritization that understands why something should be important to a key executive, but not just a prioritization, but an impact assessment using standard analytical techniques developed in the tradecraft of the intelligence community to help the decision maker move from reactive decisioning to proactive decisioning.
Yeah, and the reason I thought this was so interesting even 3 years ago was because Palantir is all about data-driven decision-making, right? How do you gather insights from the data and then effectively make the decision at scale? So I guess we'll get started with this question. Executives that get this presidential brief, I think is a very interesting concept, and you guys call it this Aya report. What exactly does Palantir's role, I guess, through Foundry or the ontology play with making this thing real for executives?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, and Jeffrey will expand upon this. But I think the key is leveraging the Foundry platform, where literally billions of pieces of information are coming together, and they're being ingested, they're being structured, and they're being analyzed. And that is the foundation. And what we do with Aya and with Crisis 24 is we bring intelligence tradecraft and security tradecraft to that. So with proprietary intelligence frameworks and security apparatus, we're able to take that information and put it in a structure which the intelligence community normally would analyze and structure information such that it becomes not just interesting information, but it becomes reactionary information that you can look at and then be able to decipher not just key insights, but key actionable decisions to be taken.
And so this would be like a CEO getting an update on their supply chain and immediately realizing something needs to be done if something's not going well.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes. And
You just put the mic a little bit closer. Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yep.
So the key is being able to have all of the different bits of information combined, and we do that through ingesting all kinds of different data points, everything from weather, political unrest, to economic reports.
Right.
And we wouldn't be able to do that all in real time if it wasn't for both the Foundry and AIP platforms. And the ability for something that would have happened to take weeks or to analyze and understand the impact now happens in real time, which is a really interesting opportunity, because if you think about what's happened in enterprise software for the last 20 years, a lot of it has been focused on the business operations, understanding everything from accounting to payroll to ERP systems, sales systems, development systems, really focuses on increasing the level of fidelity that an executive can know about their business. And Aya really aims to reshape what we can think about is the world external to a business, and making structured understanding of everything from supply chain to a trader, insurance, healthcare, finding those use cases as we start to apply all of the work that we've done to launch TPB or the presidential brief will be reused as we launch new products around new use cases, leveraging that same concept of creating structure out of the noise that exists with all of the global data that is available to us on the Foundry platform.
And I would maybe add, Amit, to that. It's really giving the executive suite comfort and confidence.
Yeah.
And in the ability to take decisions, because not only are they coming from an AI-driven mechanism and coming from something as trusted as the Palantir Foundry platform, but they are referenceable. You can see where information comes. It's attributable to specific sources. So it's not just finger in the winding it and a black box, but it's actually attributable and analyzable. I would give a story maybe, or a case in point.
Please.
I think one interesting way of understanding what the capability is just think of a global manufacturing company. They're in a situation where they're sourcing materials from different parts in the world, and there might be a rare earth set of materials that they source from only a certain place in the world.
And rare earths have become very rare over the past couple of years.
And put a situation, for instance, before the invasion of Ukraine happened. A lot of rare earths are found in Ukraine.
Yep.
And there are manufacturing companies that were sourcing there. Just think if there was the intelligence to take security intelligence information on troop formations, where troops were massing, where they were training, weather information, otherwise, where there was a ability to really maybe even forecast a risk probability of an invasion in Ukraine by Russia. Supply chains could have been adjusted in advance to prevent disruptions.
Right.
And this is where the offering with Palantir is really unique, because with the Aya platform, the AI intelligence comes every morning to the C-suite, where they can be able to look at that and really have key decisions and option sets presented in front of them.
And this intelligence is coming from all the data inside of the company.
It's proprietary, but it's also pulling from 40,000 open source data sources around the world. So it's coming from multiple language sources, and it's all translatable, but all referenceable.
Right.
But then just taking that information, and then there are AI-generated intelligence options that are presented. And what the user can do is leverage that with their own internal intelligence teams.
Correct.
But they can also then leverage it to call in, and Crisis 24 has 230 intelligence analysts on staff that cover every country in the world across multiple vectors. So being able to say, oh my gosh, I see a potential disruption happening in Ukraine, call Crisis 24, can I get the Ukraine desk? You get the lead of the Ukraine desk, and you talk to that person who's a specialist in that country. And then even beyond that, we have assets in situ in Ukraine and other parts around the world. So you can even take it one step further and get that proprietary intelligence to feed a business decision.
Right.
So it's really seeing around corners and being able to take threats and turn them into opportunities for a business.
And you guys would classify yourself as a SaaS company that essentially provides this offering, and the reason customers pay you guys is because the intelligence via the ontology to even understand and contextualize the necessity to call someone in Ukraine is where the value kind of lies.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that whether it's SaaS or AI, I think the key piece is that it's not just the technology, and I think Sid was alluding to that, because as businesses as business leaders make decisions, trust is a really important equation.
Correct.
And to be able to understand everything from the sourcing, to be able to look at multiple languages, to be able to use those standard analytical techniques developed in the intelligence tradecraft, it goes beyond just the digital, but as Sid alluded to and is talking about, it really is about how can we also merge that with the human component as well. And what we're seeing is interesting. What's happening is those people who in the past were creating those reports are now joining the decision-making team because it's more about the impact of and the strategic reaction to. And identifying more opportunities like the situation in Ukraine where they can make incremental decisions. And those the decision is ever more valuable when you can actually take an action to either prevent, accelerate, or change course.
It really is amazing because I think this solution and this partnership with Palantir is so transformational is because in this world where it is more uncertain, but it also, there's so much more noise out there.
Yeah.
And getting clarity.
Getting signal through the noise.
And signal with it from the noise is key, and that's what I think this partnership enables. And specifically, that is even more differentiating in the business world today than it ever has been in the past.
Agreed.
What risks are there to this intelligence briefing as a product and as a core software offering that is pulling from all this open source data? Like, could the data be bad? Could the data be mistranslated? How do you think of risks and then the company's prevention mechanism for or mitigation mechanism for those risks?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? I mean, there's a couple of different things that come to mind. First of all, one of the things that we leverage from the tradecraft of the intelligence community is the standards ICD 206 and 203, which basically looks at and understands how do we remove bias.
Right.
So whether we call a country's leadership a regime, has specific consequences, and how do we remove that? So it's about what's happening and the decision. Also, I think as we start to think about how a tool is only as good as what you put into it. So trust, as we talked about before, is really important. But if you start to think about like the chatbot, what is the impact of X on my business, is only as good as knowing the business. And so where we're seeing is the opportunity to extend and understand both strategic growth, key risks and problems, supply chains, being able to ingest that information in a trust-based platform really allows us to actually enable that decision maker with the type of information they need to see accelerated outcomes.
Right.
And I would also add to what Jeffrey said, that ability to pressure test what the AI produces really comes from, in a lot of our cases, our clients actually have internal intelligence teams, which can be a vetter.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we have our 230 analysts that are trained in this, and they also vet, such that there's almost a good seal of approval test that has to happen before it really goes to press.
This has been awesome. Last question for you both, Sid, Jeffrey. Thank you guys for taking the time to do this. We've been talking a little bit about AI, but I'm curious about your perspectives. Past 3 years, AI has taken over the world. Palantir has become one of the largest AI companies. How is AI operationalizing your business? How are LLMs? Are you using LLMs? Are you orchestrating LLMs? What does it mean for you guys to be an AI-first company?
It's a great question. We think about how we can make AI first in everything we do. And so it really is at the core of every process, not that just we use internally, but because we use internally, we look to put it in our externally facing products. And so it really is something that we see as a force multiplier for how we can take what we do and expand that amongst our client base.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we talk about as a team often is we have an AI-enabled product, but what does it mean to be an AI company?
Right.
And with the pace of change of everything, there's so many different ways that AI is touching business. And from our perspective, what makes it interesting is how quickly can we embed what is in the market so that we are consumers at the same time. But as we think about the product, with many models out there, and every day there seems to be a new update to one of them. What we're finding is that the capabilities of each model change from company to company. And so where we might have something work with us to write a report, then we might work with another model to QA the report.
Right.
And so, in that, I think that's a good example of how we see AI impacting our business.
Jeffrey, Sid, thank you guys so much.
A pleasure. Thanks.
Deeply
Amit.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Pleasure. Thank you
Crisis
so much.
24 and Palantir at Paragon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are here at Palantir's end-of-year event called Paragon. I am here with Steve, who is the president and CEO of Cubic Corporation. Steve, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Amit. Nice to be here.
The thing about this event that is super cool, I think, is that customers are showing real use cases and showing the partnerships that they're engaging in. For those that don't know what Cubic Corporation does, if you can give a little bit of a background about what it is, and then we'll get into the use cases in the press release that you guys announced today with Palantir.
Yeah, sure. Cubic is a diversified transportation and defense company. We kind of refer to it as we operate at the intersection of technology and the government, and
Right.
we really focus on critical customer use cases.
Yeah, the interesting thing as well about the press release that I was reading today is that the intersection around technology and government is also really not easy to explore. I mean, Palantir's entire history started with providing technology to the government, and those use cases ended up being somewhat valuable, and they turned into the company they are today. So I guess, what is the core thesis of the collaboration with Palantir, and how is that expanded into the use cases that you've seen value in?
Yeah, our partnership with Palantir is one that's leveraging the unique capabilities of both companies, primarily to respond to the Department of War's rally cry to prioritize speed and innovation.
Right.
And if you look at, there's really two use cases that we're focused on. One is around the supply chain. Supply chains are antiquated. They're not set up really to scale to support the Department of War's needs,
Right.
Especially if they do need a serious ramp up. And so we're working with Palantir. We're going to be utilizing their supply chain optimization software. We're going to integrate that into our production environment, completely transform our supply chain. It's really an attempt to unlock all the data that sits in our disparate
Right.
systems, to drive cycle time reductions, to provide real-time visibility into the status and health of our supply base, but ultimately to increase our capacity and ability to go faster. So that hits the speed and innovation piece, and that's really around the supply chain.
Can you speak a little bit to the kind of core software offering of the ontology at the intersection of your business, and why you guys thought that over the other software providers made more sense for what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think Cubic is a company that's been around for 70 years.
Yeah.
And we've grew and expanded through a lot of acquisitions. And so as you can imagine, what we have today is a lot of different systems that don't talk well to each other.
Right.
And so to stitch it all together, a lot of manual effort, a lot of offline spreadsheets, and as we started talking to Palantir, what we saw was an opportunity to almost clean sheet the way we do our supply chain. So we see it as not as a kind of an overlay. I mean, it'll start off more like an overlay to stitch our systems together, but I think over time, as we start to really get into the ontology, we're going to see that we'll probably want to clean sheet it around it and then get rid of all the systems and leverage the capability that way.
Yeah, and I think that the sort of symbiotic relationship between Palantir and other companies is, if you can clean all the data, something that Palantir says a lot is that the data doesn't have to be clean in the beginning, but it just has to have the ambition to have the use cases evolve from the ontologization of the data, having all the data come in one place. And that really does tend to replace a lot of other parts of the software stack.
Yeah, look, I know our data is not clean, but that doesn't matter. We can actually use the system to clean the data.
Yeah.
So that's the way to look at it.
Right. The defense space, Department of War, we have a new administration. They have a different paradigmatic approach about how they think of defense. How do you as a CEO think about positioning Cubic for this rallying cry that you've said the Department of War is caring about?
Yeah, I'll give you one specific use case which is relevant to our partnership with Palantir. We've been a long-time provider to Department of War, and specifically the U.S. Army, of their tactical edge computing and networking equipment.
Right.
So think of that as you're deployed and you need to be able to set up command and communication on the battlefield.
Yep.
We do that. That's what we do. But if you think about, what the future looks like, and this opportunity around an AI-enabled battlefield, and what does that mean? How do you take the decision time from days, weeks, months, and make it in seconds? And how do you improve the quality decision? That's where hardware and software come together. So we're a hardware provider in this particular use case, and Palantir is a software provider. And so merging those capabilities into the next generation systems for the Army is what we're focused on. And that's a key part of the partnership is how do we leverage the software that they're building that's going to reduce decision time and quality with the networking computing horsepower that we're providing in our next generation products.
And when you say at the edge, I would imagine you need a software partner that can actually operate at the edge to make this work.
Yeah. It's for us. I look at it as being a hardware provider. We're sort of agnostic to software. What we're trying to do is help the Army or the Department of War, in any case, operate in a completely disconnected environment. So, an imperfect environment is one where data doesn't flow from satellites or drones to the soldier. So how do you get that data to the soldier, right? And you can do that through software solutions, and you can do that through merging software and hardware and putting it out in a modular use case where the soldier can actually be forward deployed, not connected, but at the next opportunity they get the full connection to the system. So that's a software hardware combination. That's how we're trying to solve those problems.
Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Last question for you. This administration, and particularly the defense part of this administration, has really embraced AI. And they've said that we are going to be on the cutting edge of AI. We want to win when it comes to the adversarial nations that are also embracing AI. How are you as a CEO philosophically thinking about AI and at the intersection of defense?
Yeah, we think we're probably 2 years ago, I would have a hard time articulating what percentage of our technology investment was in AI, and now I would say almost all of it is.
Wow.
So it's really around, for us, we think that we have to move in that direction quickly. So we're embracing it. We're looking for use cases that can be deployed quickly to provide immediate benefit, and then iterating collaboratively with the customers, with partners like Palantir to make those improvements. And so for us, it's taking advantage of commercially available software and hardware and deploying it in a rapid iteration environment. That's how we're trying to bring the AI technologies to the market.
Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
It's great talking to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are at Palantir's end-of-year December event called Paragon. I'm here today from Cavanagh Corporation, Joe, and their echo, Jesse from Palantir. Thank you guys for doing this.
Happy to
Thanks
be
for
here.
having us. Yeah.
So, Joe, let's get started. We did a little bit of a small interview back at the AIPCon number 5. A lot has changed since then, and given the presentation that I just saw an hour ago, seems like a lot has changed in the positive sense. What has happened since you guys first started working with Palantir?
Yeah, well, we spent a lot of time up front kind of building out our core ontology, the foundational ontology we call it, and just recently, as we saw there, we're just rolling out more and more tools at kind of an exponential rate. Just because we have that clean ontology now, we're just able to build tools really, really quickly.
And can you give the audience a little bit of background about what Cavanagh does and kind of what was even the philosophical reason to begin working with Palantir a year ago?
Well, yeah, we're just a heavy civil construction company in Ottawa, Canada. Like 500 big excavators, shovels, trucks on the road every day. And we just so happened to stumble into a boot camp Palantir was putting on. And we saw it and we just went, my God, they've done it. Because we're trying to connect their data. And, in construction, it's Groundhog Day every day.
Yep.
And so we were kind of sick of the status quo. And I was always the Power BI guy, the VLOOKUP guy. And as soon as I saw that ontology objects being connected, there's a boot camp about our trucks. And I was like, oh my God, they've done it. This is now my life. We have to make this work.
I love it. Jesse, you've been their Echo. Can you explain to the audience what exactly an Echo does, and how have you seen their progression as a early customer?
Sure. So I was there at the first boot camp that we ran. So the deployment strategist role is a technical role at Palantir where you engage deeply with the customer to understand their problems, feel their pain, and help build the solutions that they need and possibly the solutions that they don't know they need yet to really help drive that goal forward. And so what we first started out with was just kind of a simple problem of, hey, the data is fractured, it's in different places. We started with this idea of just, wouldn't it be nice if when dispatch was working in the morning, they knew what trucks were out for repair? Just something simple like that. And right from there, along with just kind of the job costing idea of like, hey, when I submit something, can I just see if it's gotten through the process yet? Like look at the approval stages, understand that so I can start to plan tomorrow. From those humble beginnings, we've now rolled out 40 workflows in a year, stretching everything from safety, dispatch, estimating, built them an HRMS system, an OSDK app, which is crazy. We started that, we just didn't know how hard it was going to be, and just flew through it. So it's on his phone now.
Okay, so obviously the rate of growth is exponential. You said 97% of the company is using Palantir daily. You also said that it's kind of replaced pretty much every other software stack that you guys have. Why has the rate of growth been so exponential on Palantir?
I think because we're making people's lives easier. Like the main goal is giving operations the tools that they need to do their work day to day. And so when you show up and the tool is easier, the adoption is just easy, right? The adoption, you want when people get the tools to go, oh yeah, that's exactly what I needed, and this is easier. We're trying to make people's lives easier. That's the main goal, 100%.
As a construction company, I mean, you named a couple of different use cases, but to the audience that maybe has never worked in a construction company or even understands the challenges, can you give us some examples of what is so difficult about using an Excel sheet to manage something versus having it on Foundry?
Yeah, it's just the connectivity, right? Like it's for a construction analogy, we call it double handling material. Like if you dig a hole and fill it back in, that's inefficient.
Yeah.
So data is no different. If you fill in a spreadsheet and you have data somewhere and someone has to look at that data and then retype it in somewhere else, it's inefficient. And
Correct.
so we kind of see it the exact same way. So spreadsheets are inherently inefficient because they're not interconnected with the rest of your business.
Right. Jesse, I was just talking to Kevin, who leads sales at Palantir, and he was referencing Cavanagh and said that, Cavanagh's not just running on Palantir Foundry. Cavanagh is running on Cavanagh's operating system that is powered by Foundry. Can you speak a little bit to a company making an operating system versus a company just plugging stuff into your operating system?
Yeah, I think part of that is that this is the core philosophy of Palantir, is that we meet the customer where they are and build software that meets their business needs, as opposed to saying, hey, cut the awkward parts off of your business to meet this kind of cookie cutter mold.
Well, which is a difficult conversation sometimes. With
yeah,
customers.
it's definitely a difficult conversation, but I think where we started with was just the core operations of, hey, what is a construction company at its core? It's a company that takes labor, materials, and equipment and works against the contract. And so we said, great, we're going to build something that lets you manage all of these pieces, and then from there we'll spring all of the other things that interact between them. What is, a dispatch other than putting a person in a truck against a job? And so from there you kind of start at the core and build out from there, as opposed to maybe tacking like one workflow and then trying to work down to the ontology.
Right. Last question for you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. The partnership here, I think, is really special because Dr. Karp doesn't even, mention you guys as a customer. He mentions you guys as a partner. Obviously, the FDE model is starting to get more adopted in the enterprise. Now everyone wants a forward-deployed engineer. How are you thinking of the partnership with Palantir versus the sort of transactional vendor relationship with a software company?
Yeah, we feel like we are partners. Like Jesse and I have a great relationship where we were literally locked in, we called it the training room, but we were locked in a room for 3 months, whiteboarding what is construction.
Wow.
There was no pizza or beer at all. But I think just that trust, right? Like Jesse challenged us a lot on just the assumptions we didn't even know we were making. Like I like to think I get to first principles and, I'm unbiased, but, there's so many instances where Jesse would just, philosophically go, why? And you go, well, crap, I didn't know I was making that assumption. So I think it's just trust, right? Like trust that they're there with your best interests in mind, and they're going to tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not.
Same question to you, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, I think the partnership is, as we move forward, right, I wish I could work on Cavanagh forever, right? Like, I love the work that we've done there, and when we started this journey together, I didn't know too much about construction, and so I started by saying, like, I'm probably going to ask some really stupid questions here, like, why do you bother doing costing, right? Or like, why do you care about dispatch, or how does estimating work? But I want you to trust that, like, I'm only going to push when I really don't think it makes sense, and I'm going to learn this from you. And like, if you trust me that I have your best interest in mind and that I'm the expert in the software, I'm going to trust that you have like this partnership's best interest in mind, and you're the expert on your business. And together, we're going to revolutionize construction.
I love it. Joe, Jesse, thank you for the time. Appreciate you guys.